Hi there, this is Dre once again, and I'll be your facilitator for the Human Resource Information System (HIRS) module. And in this module, we're going to be looking at the history, how technology came into HR. We're going to be looking at what we used to do or what obtains in the days before technology, and how technology came into place, and then how we can use technology going forward as human resource managers. Also, we are hoping that we will have a hands-on experience, look at one or two softwares that are usable in human resource, and how you as an HR professional can use that software to be able to deliver efficiently on your work. And I will be having a few videos as time permits, but let's jump straight into it. Okay, so what is HRIS, or what is Human Resource Information System? If you look at the two words, human resource is a single term. Information system is another term. So the HRIS is like a combination of two disciplines. So we already know what human resources is. Uh, you are already a practitioner or an intended practitioner of human resources. So then, what is information system? So information system, in a nutshell, layman's term, is the combination of people, technology, software, systems. All that combination is what makes an information system. So the bookworms, we say, collection of people using technology, using a process, and then with the help of a software, all that, blah, blah, blah. But that's just book. But in simplest layman terms, it's just a combination of both people, technology, that's hardware and software, processes, and systems. A combination of all that makes up information system. So when we are saying human resource information system, what we are talking about there, we are talking about you as the human resource practitioner, as the people, the software you'll be using. So the software you'll be using, tools like Seamless, Bamboo, and the likes. Those are softwares, and then hardware. That's the system, whether it's a tab, is a desktop, is a laptop, anyone you want to use. Those are hardware. System, sometimes we look at it from the angle of software, but in another time we look at it in terms of a structure. So the structure that the organization built around the software, and then processes, how these things are to be done, or how these things need to be done. So human resource management, human resource information system is just a combination of all these things as a whole. So it includes you, the software you use, the hardware you use, the processes, and the system. So these are all what makes up information resource HRS, human resource information system. Okay, now it is the most used in most used software in HR. Well, in that case, we can say it's the most used because technology is technology. There are no different type of technology. So HRS encompasses the whole technology. And now the objective in this course is how to use it. That is the most important thing. So, in some cases, you might get to some job interview as an HR officer, and you might ask, okay, do you have any knowledge of human resource information system? In that case, they're asking you if you have used any before. So, the functionalities, what it includes, everything you need to know, the basics, and the understanding. Those are the things we are going to be covering in this course. But I believe we already have an understanding of what human resource information system is. Okay. All right. So as we already know, HRS stands for Human Resource Information System. And based on the explanation that has already been made, it comprises of people, technology, software, process, and systems. So what it's being used for is that it is a system that is used to collect and store data on an organization employees. And then we have talked about the functionalities of HR and what the 15, 14, 15 functions of HR are. But HRIS helps us to enhance some of them more than the others. So there are some of the tools, there are some of the functions that you can use HRIS to perform, and it will be more efficient and more effective than just running it manually. So HRIS helps us to modify the functions of some of these HR functionalities. And we are going to see what functions or which of the functions as we go on in the class. So the HRS encompasses the basic functionalities that is needed for an end-to-end human resource management, meaning that you can use an HRIS to monitor an employee from the process of the job call. So the employee doesn't even need to be in your organization, doesn't need to be in your system before you have them in your HRIS. So meaning that from the job call, the moment you place a job call and people start applying for that job, their details are being already stored in your system, in your HRIS. And then as those candidates progresses in the course of the recruitment, as the process will progress in the course of the recruitment, then you have them move from different stage of the HRS, probably from shortlisted to interviewing to medicals and all that. So they move from different stage based on the particular stage you are in the interview process. So you can manage an employee from that point until the point where they are either resigning or their employment with the organization is being terminated. So it is a system that you can use for recruitment, you can use it for performance management, you can use it for learning and development, and many more other functions of HR. I've told you that we can use this software to make some functions to be more effective and efficient than the other. So this HRIS system, this system that we're talking about. So when I'm talking about system, know that I'm referring to the HRIS. So this system helps us to, do some things faster and better than the way it used to be done. Uh, so an HRIS can also be known as HRIS software. So what we are saying that at the end of the day, just as I have said, the whole system, people, technology, everything that comprises of the human resource system can either be referred to as a system or a software. Do you understand? So it's the way people use them is different. Is like an information system for human resources. Okay, all right. Let's move on. HRS can either be uh, locally deployed or remotely deployed. What does that mean? We have organizations in different sizes. In the business angle of it, their organizations are broken into different category, small scale, SME, startups, corporations, enterprises in those different categories. So the level of an organization determines how the system will be deployed for them. So, for example, a small organization may not be able to afford the cost of deploying remotely. What that means is that they do not have the capacity, the financial muscle to get a cloud storage and then use the cloud storage for all their human resource activities. It can be expensive. So then they will, in that case, decide to, okay, instead of deploying remotely, we can deploy locally. What that means is that in their site, in their office, they will set up a system to serve as server and install the software on it and then give other people's system, every other employee system that needs to access the access to the computer that has been set up as a server. So what that one does is that the server, the system serving a server, is located on the premises of the organization. So that's what we say is deployed locally. The server is on the premises of the organization, and then every employee in the organization that are in the office physically can access it. The disadvantage of this option is that that system only becomes accessible physically, meaning that you can only have access to it when you're physically present in the office. The moment you're out of the office, then there is no longer access. You will not be able to do anything. So it means that the only time you have access to the software is between 8 when you resume and 5 when you close. So with that, it limits the ability or the things that you can do when you are out of office. Now, but the advantage is that when you are in the office and you are accessing it, it is fast. Another option is deploying remotely. So what that one does is the server is in the cloud. You don't need to see it physically, you don't need to access it physically. But anywhere you go, you'll be able to have access to that server, either through your phone, through your laptop, or any internet enabled device. You'll be able to access that server. So what that means is that from anywhere, whether you're on a yacht, on the IFC, or you're in the plane, or you're on the road, you can have access to that server. So it's always available. Now, before all this came to play, like I said, big corporation, big large enterprises, what they used to do is they used to build their own system and then subscribe to cloud hosting. But as time goes on, little smaller organizations also started building what they can afford. But still, the cost of setting all this up is still high. And then as time goes on and things technology advances, we started seeing what we know as software as a services, software as a service. We started seeing some companies offering HRIS as a SaaS. So what that one means is that you don't need to have the server on your platform, on your location. You don't even need to have a server space in the cloud. We have already done that. All you just need to do is connect to us from anywhere you are with an internet enabled device. So that is when we started having devices, softwares like Bamboo, Seamless, Zoho, and a lot of other HRIS. You understand? But before, most organizations, what they do is they deploy their own software, their own human resource information software. For example, Oracle, you know, in the Oracle database package, the company itself has their own human resource information system where they manage all their staffs, and then they started selling it to other big corporations also at that time. So at that point, when you want to install that, very, very costly, and then it involves a lot of other technicalities that HR will naturally not be able to handle. So these are the two ways. But now we have software as a service that is available to everybody, whether it's small business or a large corporation, depending on what they want. But mostly, if you look at it, most of the large corporations, for the Fortune 500 companies, they still maintain their own human resource softwares. But the SMEs have they have been given the opportunity to use the software as a service that has been made available. Okay, so other common names, other common names are HRIS, HRMS. Uh, People call it different names. Some call it what's it called now? Some call it a feature, just a feature. That's applicant tracking system, application tracking system, ATS. So, but the main thing is not just the feature, it's not just the software itself. It encompasses you, that is the user, the technology you're using to access it, both the software and the hardware, and then the processes that is built around it. Okay, so working with an HRIS has multiple benefits for the organization, the HR, and the employee. So yes, there are a lot of benefits that is involved with that. And if we want to look at it, one of those things, let me take us back to the year, let's say the year 2000, 25 years ago. At that time, computer is not mainstream in Nigeria as it is now. Before you see computer, you will have to travel distances, miles. Even in offices, it is rare for you to see computers in every office. Unlike now, when you have computer everywhere, each office has computers. Then you only see offices, computer in the offices of the managers, not everywhere. Now, at that point, several processes used to happen then. For example, the job call, the sorting, the interview, and all that. All those things were done manually. So in those days, let's use the functional recruitment, just recruitment. Now you can put a job call online through an HRS software, and within days, you have applicants, and within another set of days, you have people that you have already shortlisted for interview, because the ATS will have already helped you to trim or to weed out the people that do not qualify. And then within days, you're already scheduling people for interview. You're already sending them invites through the ATS, through the HRS, and all that. And all this can be done in a week, and you get your interview done. But 25 years ago, this wasn't so. The first thing that was done then was, for application, for you to get your application to the company, you have to first of all monitor advertisements of the company, either through radio, through television, or through newspapers. I remember in those days, people were always following, what's it called now? The Guardian newspaper on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because those are the days they have job adverts. I don't know about now. Don't think I've touched a newspaper in the past 10 years. So, what's it called now? The Punch newspaper also, maybe on Wednesday, they share their own job placement. So they have specific pages dedicated to job adverts there. You know, so the first thing, the company will have to put the call out, take it to the press. Then the press will roll it and probably deliver it the next day. And then before they circulate the paper around the country, and then you have to go to the newspaper stand to purchase the paper, or you go and do free reader association, just to look at those vacancies. And then when you have done that, you will need to write out. There was no email then, don't forget. Most people do not have emails then. Even most organizations don't have emails then, 20 years ago. In Nigeria, I'm talking about Nigeria, not everywhere in the world. Okay, so at that time, there were no emails. What was applicable was, bring your application your certificate, your result, your CV, put everything in an envelope, address it to a particular name, to a particular person, and seal it, bring it to the company, or send it by mail, PO box, to the company. So at that point, you have two options. Is either you travel to the company to go and submit your application, or you send it by mail, which was not reliable. So at that point, you have the option to to send by mail and then be praying, hoping that your application gets there. So those are the challenges then. And then after that phase has been done, you have either gone to submit, or you send by mail. At that point, that was when bodies, security men, had powers, because when you get there and they see you with envelope, they had power. They will say, okay, no, you cannot enter. What do you want to do? You want to submit CV? They drop it there. Those ones were using their power at that time. So after that has been done, all those envelopes will be collated and then dumped in the office of the HR. Sir. Manager, sir, all these are for you. And then the person will now have to start sorting, oh God, one envelope after the other. And we all know, Nigerians, as we are, no one will be willing to go through all that process, looking at the envelopes one by one, when you can have almost 10,000 applications just for one position. So the person will just pick at random different envelopes that he thinks is okay. Sometimes you can look at the size of the envelope. Okay, this is bulky. Let me check what is inside. This is too thin. Let me check what is inside. All that. And then when they are done with that phase, which can take months, then they have to go through the process of now reaching out to the candidate. So in most cases, GSM was just coming then. So not everybody had it. It was expensive. There was no way to call the candidate and say, okay, you have been scheduled. There was no email to reach out to them to say, okay, you have been scheduled. A letter, the company will send a letter to the candidate to inform them that they have been shortlisted for an interview. So you can imagine the process. You can imagine how hideous, how terrible, and how tiring it will be for the HRs then. And then for the candidate also, you can imagine how long they will have to wait. Then the worst service was the post office after NEPA. The worst service was post office. So you can only hope that whatever you send gets there, and that whatever they send to you gets to you. So you can only hope at that point. So imagine people going through that process of having to wait. Oh, I'm waiting for mail. Some people, I remember that time, I used to go and check my mail every week. And even at that, I still miss some letter, because if I go on, I used to go on Tuesday mornings. It's okay to say, okay, whatever mail will have been sorted by Monday and this thing. So I go on Tuesday morning. Sometimes by the time I go the next Tuesday, I will have some mails that have already passed. You understand that kind of thing? So that is the way it works then. So the inefficiencies of that system was so loud, so much then, that uh, the HRs, how they survived it, I don't know. But thank God for technology, and thank God for where we are today. So all that process is what HIRS cuts away. All that stress is what HRS cuts away. And moving on, the things that HRS offer is that now, instead of the human resource officer having to go through mountain of envelopes, there is now a database where CVs that are sent now goes to the database automatically. You don't even need to see any paper. You don't even need to print any paper. Also, because of technology, email, you can send it now, and the person gets it in the next 30 seconds to 1 minute. Time is saved, labor is saved. So instead of you having to travel from Ibadan to Lagos because you want to go and apply to Cabri in Ikeja, and you have to go from your house to the park to Lagos to Ikeja to drop in an envelope and then come back Ikeja to Lagos, I mean to Bega, and then to Ibadan, back to your house. That's a lot of time wasted. So it saves time, and then also for the labor, it saves the time of the human resource officer that's going to be browsing through all those envelopes, and even saves the time of the security guy. There were a lot of the rings then. Okay, so all these things are some of the benefits that HRS has brought to the profession, human resource. So I mentioned that some of the benefits or some of the features that HRS is most important for, you can use it to do a lot of things. I told you you can use it for to manage a candidate from job call till that candidate is either terminated or is resigning. So the major benefits that we can get from HRS is it saves time, and then you have access to multiple or bulk candidate information at a go. Now, some of the things that you can use HRS to do what we see on the screen. You can use the database to store many information. You can save your time. You can use it to process payroll. You can use it for talent acquisition, which includes uh, recruitment, interviews, and all that. You can use it to also manage your in-house employees, and then you can also use it to manage their benefits. So instead of having to carry paper up and down, uh, Mr. Mr. Anu or Miss Anu, please can you carry this file to the account? We have prepared the payroll for this month, and then Miss Anu leaves her office, gidi, 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 get to the account office. Oh, the manager said I should give you this. The payroll has been prepared, and then the accountant start punching calculator. Okay, he came late twice. He took sick leave 2 times. He left early four, five times. All those deductions. It's a waste of time and labor. HRS helps you do that from uh, arrival, that's check-in, time in, to time out. It already records that. It can also check you, okay, performance over the month, it lets you know. Holidays and leave, it lets you know. So with all those things, if you have set it to have deduction for each of them, at the end of the month, you just need to check the employee's profile. All the deductions have been made and the calculations is set. So just from the HR's desk, he or she can print the employee's payslip, and then before paying printing the places, you can also manage, okay, this person has NHIS, this person does not have, this person is paying this tax, this person does not pay, all those things. The HRIS has taken care of all that, and you don't have to worry yourself about all those process. And then for the recruitment, put a job call out as people are applying, that their data is going to your database, and the ATS is sorting them, and you are getting the people that are scaled through, and you are also receiving uh, details, and from there also, without having to stand up, you can send uh, interview interview invite into them, or asking them to schedule, if it's going to be a virtual interview, asking them to schedule their time and all that straight from the HRIS. So the HRS brings a lot of benefits human resource to the human resource uh, profession, and then it helps the human resource professionals to be uh, very good at their work, very efficient, very effective, and very productive. So now we have HRs who have more time, and then they also have opportunity to do various things uh, with their time. Okay, so in the next lesson, we'll be looking at what are the other benefits that HR brings to us and some other things. Thank you.